I was standing in my own bedroom doorway, looking at my husband and my sister tangled in my bed sheets, when I realized that some betrayals don't just break your heart, they shatter your entire understanding of reality. Adis. My voice came out like someone else's. Small. Confused. Like I was the one who had done something wrong by coming home early to my own house in Lekki Phase 1. My sister, my own blood, the one who practically raised me after Mama died, just looked at me. No shame. No scrambling to cover herself. She actually smiled. "NNE, you're back early," she said, like I'd interrupted her watching TV, not destroying my marriage. My husband, Chokudi, at least had the decency to look terrified. But that almost made it worse. Because it meant he knew this was wrong. He'd known all along. Let me rewind. Because you need to understand how I got here, how the person I trusted most in this world became the woman I would eventually destroy. My name is Obiajili, but everyone calls me Obi. 3 years ago, I married Chukudi Okonkwo, a successful real estate developer who owned half of Oja. I'm not going to lie to you, I loved him, but I also loved what he represented. Security. Status. A life where I'd never have to worry about NIPE bills or whether there was enough money for my younger siblings' school fees. I grew up in a Face Me I Face You in Suralea. My father was a taxi driver who drank himself to death when I was 12. Mama sold akara by the roadside to feed 4 children. When she died of high blood pressure during my second year at Unilag, it was Adis who stepped up. Adis was 7 years older than me, and by then, she'd already dropped out of school to hustle. She did everything, sold clothes at Baligan markets, worked as a receptionist, even went to Lebanon for 2 years as a domestic worker. She sent money home. She made sure I finished university. She was at my graduation, crying harder than I was. "You're our success story," she told me that day, holding my face in her calloused hands. Everything I did was for this. So when I met Chukudi at a wedding in 2021 and he actually showed interest in me, broke girl from Suralea with nothing but a degree and dreams, I brought him home to meet Adis first. Before his parents. Before anyone. "He's good," she said after the meeting, watching him drive away in his Range Rover. "But Obi, these rich men, be careful. They can change." I should have paid attention to the way she looked at his car. The way her jaw tightened when he mentioned his properties. The way she asked too many questions about his family's wealth. But I was in love. And stupid. After Chukudi and I got married in a wedding that cost 17 million naira, his family's money, not mine, I insisted that Adis move in with us. Our house in Lekki had 5 bedrooms. Chukudi wasn't happy about it, but I pushed. "She sacrificed everything for me," I told him. "This is the least I can do." He agreed. Because back then, Chukudi still did things to make me happy. For the first year, everything seemed perfect. Adis got a job at a salon in Lekki Phase 1, started dressing better, even started dating a guy named Emeka who worked in oil and gas. I was happy for her. Finally, my sister was getting her own blessings. But then small things started happening. Things I ignored because she was my sister. Chukudi started coming home later. Work, he'd say, smelling like expensive perfume that wasn't mine. When I'd confront him, Adis would be the one to calm me down. "All men are like this," she'd say, rubbing my back while I cried. "You're just not used to it because you're new to marriage. Give him time. He'll settle." She'd make me tea. Tell me stories about Mama. Remind me how lucky I was to have someone like Chukudi who, despite his flaws, was still providing for me and my family. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was not questioning why Emeka, her supposed boyfriend, never came around anymore. Or why she stopped talking about him. Or why she started working out obsessively, getting her nails done every week, wearing the kind of clothes she used to say were too exposing. "I'm just taking care of myself," she said when I commented. "All these Lagos women, they are too fine. I need to step up my game too." Then there was the day I came back from the hospital. I'd been having stomach pains, went for tests, and found them in the living room. Too close. Chukwudi's hand on her waist. Both of them jumping apart when I walked in. Chukwudi started. I was showing him a dance video on TikTok. Adis finished smoothly. This new challenge everyone is doing. I wanted to believe them. Needed to believe them. So I swallowed the bitter thing crawling up my throat and went to my room. That night, Chukwudi didn't come to bed until 3 a.m. The day I caught them, really caught them, I wasn't supposed to be home. I told them both I was going to Ibadan for my uncle's funeral and would be gone for 3 days. But the funeral got postponed. So I came back. I used my spare key because my main key was in the bag I'd left at the house. I walked through my own front door, climbed my own stairs, and that's when I heard it. Sounds that made my blood run cold. Coming from my bedroom. You know what the worst part was? When I pushed that door open and saw them, Adis didn't even look surprised. Like she'd been waiting for this moment. Like she wanted me to catch them. Obi, I can explain. Chukwudi was scrambling now, pulling on his boxers. But Adis just sat there, my bedsheet wrapped around her, and said, "There's nothing to explain. He loves me now. These things happen. These things happen." I couldn't breathe. "You're my sister." "Exactly," she said, and her voice was so cold. "I'm your sister. The one who sacrificed everything for you. The one who worked like a slave so you could go to university and marry a rich man. And what did you do? You brought him to me like a trophy. Look, Adis, see what I got. Look what your suffering bought me. I never." "You never what?" "Never rubbed it in my face. Never made me feel like your housemaid, living in your big house, eating your food, wearing your pity like a uniform." She stood up now, wrapping my bedsheet tighter. "I'm 39 years old, Obi. I gave you my youth. So yes, when your husband started paying attention to me, someone who actually understands suffering, who doesn't take everything for granted, I didn't stop him." I looked at Chukwudi. "Is that true? You love her." He wouldn't meet my eyes. That's when I ran. Out of the room, out of the house, into my car. I drove to my friend Ngozi's house in Ikeja, and I cried for 3 hours straight. "Come back home," Ngozi finally said. "Don't let her win. That's your house. Your marriage." But when I returned the next morning, Chukwudi was waiting in the living room. Alone. "She's gone to her salon," he said. "Obi, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. It meant nothing." "How long?" "What? How long have you been sleeping with my sister?" He looked at the floor. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of them laughing at me. I felt something inside me die. "I want a divorce," I said. "No." His voice was sharp. "My family will never allow it. Do you know what divorce means in my family? My father would disinherit me. Everything I've built. So what? I should just stay in a marriage where my husband is sleeping with my sister." "She's leaving," he said. "I'll ask her to leave today. We'll go to marriage counseling. We'll fix this." But I wasn't listening anymore. Because something he said had clicked in my brain. "Your father will disinherit you." He hesitated. "Yes. In my family, divorce it's not done. Especially not this early. My father would take back everything he gave me." That's when the first piece of the puzzle fell into place. I didn't fight when Chukwudi asked Adis to leave. I even helped her pack. She looked at me with something like disappointment. "You're really going to stay with him?" she asked. "After everything? Where else will I go?" I said quietly. "Playing my role." She smiled. Not kindly. "You were always the weak one." After she left, I played the dutiful wife trying to save her marriage. I cooked Chukwudi's favorite meals. I didn't ask questions about where he was going. I smiled when his family came to visit. But at night, when he was asleep, I went through everything. His phone. His laptop. His files. And that's when I found it. The document that changed everything. Chukwudi's father, Chief Okonkwo, was dying. Prostate cancer, stage 4. He had maybe 8 months left. And in his will, which I found in Chukwudi's email, probably sent by the family lawyer, there was a clause. A very specific clause. If Chukwudi got divorced or separated from me before Chief's death, his inheritance would be split between his 2 brothers. All of it. The properties, the businesses, the offshore accounts. Everything. But if Chukwudi remained married to me when Chief died, he got everything. 70% of an estate worth over 4 billion naira. My hands were shaking as I read that document. And then I found the text messages. Between Chukwudi and Adis. Going back 8 months. Chukwudi, the old man is getting worse. Doctor says maybe a year max. Adis, and you're sure about the will condition? Chukwudi, my brother confirmed it. If I'm still married when he dies, I get it all. Adis, so we wait. Keep playing nice with her. Chukwudi, what if she wants a divorce now? Adis, she won't. I know my sister. She's too weak, too scared to be alone. And even if she tries, I'll talk her out of it. That's what big sisters do, right? Winking face. Chukwudi, after Chief dies and I get the inheritance, I'll divorce her and marry you properly. Adis, without much money, we can do anything. Go anywhere. Finally live the life we deserve. I read those messages 3 times. 4 times. Until every word was burned into my brain. My sister hadn't just betrayed me for love or lust. She'd calculated this. Studied the situation. Figured out that if she could keep me in this marriage for just a few more months, if she could make me feel just weak enough, just broken enough to stay, she and Chukwudi would inherit billions. And then they'd throw me away. The anger that filled me then wasn't hot. It was ice cold. Surgical. If they wanted to play games, I'd show them how it's done. The next morning, I called Chukwudi's father. Chief Okonkwo and I had always had a good relationship. He liked that I was humble, unlike the flashy Lagos girls his other sons married. Papa, I need to tell you something, I said, my voice shaking, not with fear, with rage, but he couldn't know that. About Chukwudi. I met him that afternoon at his house in Ikoyi. I brought evidence. Photos I'd hired a private investigator to take of Chukwudi and Adis together at a hotel in Ikeja. The text messages, printed and highlighted. Everything. Chief Okonkwo's face went from confusion to disgust to pure fury. With your own sister, he said, his voice dangerous. And they planned to use my dying days to secure money they would spend together. Yes, sir, I said, letting tears fall. Real tears. Because even though I was getting my revenge, the betrayal still hurt. I didn't want to tell you. I know you're sick. But I couldn't let them disrespect you like this. Disrespect our marriage. Your legacy. Chief was quiet for a long time. Then he picked up his phone. Get me my lawyer, he said. Now. 3 days later, Chukwudi came home and told me his father wanted to see both of us. I pretended to be nervous. Chukwudi seemed confident. He probably wants to counsel us, Chukwudi said. You know how he is about family unity. We sat in Chief's living room, me, Chukwudi, Chief, his lawyer, and his 2 other sons. Adis wasn't there, but she might as well have been. This was for her too. Chukwudi, Chief said, his voice weak but firm. I'm changing my will. Chukwudi's face went pale. Papa. Quiet. Chief coughed, and for a moment, I felt bad for him. A dying man having to deal with this. I'm leaving everything to Obiajili. The houses, the businesses, everything. She will inherit it all when I die. Not you. Not your brothers. Ah. The room exploded. Chukwudi's brothers started shouting. Chukwudi himself looked like he might faint. Papa, you can't do this. Chukwudi said. I'm your son. You are my son, Chief agreed. But you are also a man who betrayed his wife with her own sister. Who plotted to use my death for financial gain. Who brought shame to this family. He looked at me. Obiajili has shown more loyalty to this family than you ever have. She came to me privately, despite her pain, to protect our legacy. She is more of an Okonkwo than you will ever be. The lawyer handed me documents. Ma'am, you need to sign here, here, and here. I signed. My hands were steady. This is insane. Chukwudi turned to me. Obi, tell him you don't want this. Tell him. I looked at my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, and smiled. The same smile Adiz had given me when I caught them in my bed. I want it, I said quietly. I think I've earned it. The divorce papers were filed 1 week later. Chukwudi tried to fight it, but Chief's lawyers were better than any he could afford, especially now that Chief had cut him off completely. The settlement was brutal. I got the Lekki house, 2 of his properties in Oja, and a lump sum of 50 million naira. Not the full inheritance yet, Chief was still alive, but enough to make sure I'd never be poor again. But the sweetest revenge wasn't the money. It was watching their plan crumble. Chukwudi called Adiz after the will reading. I know because I was still checking his phone, he never did change his password. He told her everything was destroyed. That there was no inheritance. No future. She broke up with him 3 hours later. You're useless to me now, she texted him. Just like that. Years of planning, months of betrayal, and the moment the money disappeared, so did her love. Chukwudi called me crying 2 days later. She never loved me, he said, like he'd just realized it. She was just using me. I know, I said. Goodbye, Chukwudi. As for Adiz, I did something I'm not entirely proud of, but that I don't regret. I sent copies of all those text messages, the ones planning to use Chief's death, the ones mocking me, to every family member we had. Aunties, uncles, cousins, everyone in our village. In Igbo families, reputation is everything. And Adiz had just lost hers. She called me once. Only once. You destroyed me, she said. I'm your sister. I raised you. And I trusted you, I replied. But you taught me something valuable, sis. You taught me that blood doesn't mean loyalty. It just means you know exactly where to stab for maximum damage. She hung up. We haven't spoken since. Chief Okonkwo died 4 months later. I was with him at the hospital when he passed, holding his hand. His sons were there too, but he asked for me specifically in those final moments. You remind me of my late wife, he whispered. Strong. Dignified. Take care of this family's legacy. Use it well. I inherited everything. 4,200 million naira worth of properties, investments, and businesses. I became one of the wealthiest women in Lagos overnight. People talk, of course. They say I'm a gold digger who manipulated a dying old man. They say I should have forgiven my husband and sister, that family is family. They say I'm heartless. But here's what I know, I didn't manipulate anyone. I simply showed Chief who his son really was. I protected myself from people who were actively plotting to use me and discard me. I refused to be the weak little sister anymore. Last I heard, Chukwudi is living in a 1-bedroom flat in Suralere, the same area I grew up in. The irony isn't lost on me. He works for one of his cousins now, doing property marketing. He's surviving, but barely. Adiz moved to Abuja. Someone told me she's dating a politician there, but I don't keep track anymore. We are strangers now. The sister who raised me died the day she decided my suffering was an acceptable price for her come-up. Me. I still live in the Lekki house. I've expanded 2 of Chief's businesses and started a foundation that gives scholarships to young girls from poor families, girls like I used to be. Girls like Adiz used to be, before bitterness and envy poisoned her. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I'm the villain in this story. If I went too far. If revenge was worth it. But then I remember standing in that doorway, looking at my sister in my bed, and I remember that I didn't start this war. I just finished it. They wanted to use my weakness against me. My trust. My love. My gratitude. Instead, I turned it all into armor. So let me ask you this, if your own blood betrayed you like this, if the person who raised you tried to destroy you for money, what would you have done? Would you have forgiven? Would you have walked away quietly? Or would you have done exactly what I did? Drop your answer in the comments. Because honestly, some days I'm still trying to figure out if I'm a hero or a villain in my own story. And if you've ever had family betray you, and I mean really betray you, tell me about it below. Sometimes we need to know we are not alone in this.